Hello, it is time to discuss episode 3. I realized that these videos are kind of like watch along if you're into that, since I go scene by scene. So, welcome if you're joining me as a watch along. Welcome if you've already seen the full episode and we're now recapping together. Let's get started. I don't know if you guys watch the recaps, because they honestly kind of give some stuff away. In this recap, the first clip we see is of Bree and Wrigley when they were at the bus stop. And I was starting to get nervous because what are we building towards here? Why do we keep talking about this and showing Wrigley and Bree? We open the episode with Diana on the phone, panic calling the clinic to get her abortion. It's so funny. She's like, no, I need to do this now. Because, I think it's especially because it is Steven's child. Molly walks by, starts talking to Diana after she hangs up the phone. Diana's clearly mad. She's like, being a woman is a prison. Molly does not understand what's going on. And Diana very quickly divulges the fact that she's pregnant and is getting it aborted. Like, why are we telling Molly these things? Oh my goodness. It actually made me so mad. We're like 30 seconds into this episode. Are Diana and her even that close of friends? Also, Diana has to know that Molly is a blabbermouth because she's the one who we know is telling Lucy's quote-unquote secret, what happened to Lucy, to everyone. Molly asked Diana to cover for her in class. I guess they're in the same class that Diana's going to, because Evan just texted Molly. So she's gonna ditch class to go meet up with Evan for some morning booty call, which is pretty embarrassing. You can tell even Diana's like, what are you doing, and pities her. Which sometimes Diana gets very judgmental, and I don't like it because, girl, like right now you have Steven's spawn inside of you. But she must come to her senses, and she must be becoming a little bit less judgmental because she says, you know what, fine. So next thing we see is Molly in Evan's dorm getting redressed. She tries to ask if he'd want to get coffee on the way to class, and he's like, I've got stuff to do. It's so cringy. And then she brings up that she's going to start birth control. I thought she was about to pull a Lucy season 1, where she's trying to ask, like, hey, is this just you and me? Are you hooking up with anyone else? But no. Instead, it turns into Molly revealing that, oh, someone I know close to me was really safe, but she's pregnant. So, of course, Evan asks, wait, who do we know that got pregnant? And Molly's like, oh, I shouldn't say. But Evan says, come on, you can tell me. And she reveals that it's Diana. What are you doing? Evan is like one of Steven's best friends. Oh my gosh. I guess at this point she doesn't know that Evan spills the beans on everything and just tells Steven everything. But again, another hard Molly moment to watch. She also straight up says, yeah, you can't tell Steven. Wonder what he's gonna do. Do you think he's gonna tell Steven? What do you think? We get this interesting scene next where Lucy is sitting on the floor of her room. She's curling her hair. She gets a call. It's Alex being very brief and mysterious and just being like, want to hang out tonight? And she's like, sure. And he's like, okay, I'll text you. And that's it. And then she hangs up. And when she goes to sit back, how she was fully, she accidentally sits on the curling wand and burns her thigh. I think this moment is maybe continuing that metaphor of like self-harm for Lucy. The way that she's doing these things, maybe she doesn't realize they're kind of subconscious, that are harming her in the long term. What did you think? It was such a brief moment. But clearly, I think the writers, they're trying to tell us something through it. What was your analysis? Bree is in her art class. We see her looking at the text she sent Oliver, the picture of her and Amanda. And he has yet to reply, which she does not seem happy with. Also, right after the class, the teacher calls her over and tells her that some of her work will be showcased. She was selected. So that was really nice. That made me happy for Bree. Bree needs a win. Bree leaves the class. She's walking down the hallway when, of course, guess who she runs into? Oliver. She looks terrified. Oliver, drags her into his office He says, let's talk, and literally, like, drags her by the arm in. And she's like, let go of me. And I just had this moment, any Wicked fans, I had this flashback to Glinda being like, let go of my leg. He inquires about the photo, asks if she wanted to just get some kind of reaction out of him. Bree says, you shouldn't be allowed to be doing this, and then goes into this weird lie. She says that she told the dean about him and what's going on. And at first I was like, I feel like we would have seen this. So Bree's lying here to see what he would say. Oliver honestly does look a bit concerned and scared here. So then he asks, when was this? Bree says, yesterday. And he softens because, you know what? He had breakfast with the dean this morning. He saw the dean this morning, so he knows that Bree is just straight up lying. He's kind of sassy here. Like, he says, I mean, he's sarcastic. He says, oh, she's a busy woman, though. Like, she'll probably get around to it. Must have slipped her mind. To me, that's it. I don't think you can be acting so sarcastic in this kind of situation. And then to be even more annoying and condescending, he's like, are you okay? As if he's worried about her. He even says it. He says, I'm worried about you. Bree, I care about you. He says he's just sad about her behavior because it isn't who he thought she was. And it's the same kind of manipulation he was using with Evan in his conversation. And he keeps going. He says she's needy, that she's insecure, and that's what drives people away from her. And he brings up her childhood, her upbringing. He says it's pretty basic psychology, like it's because of how you were brought up when you were a child. Are you kidding? Like, he is not holding back at all. He is showing his true colors. He says people have no choice but to leave them. And Bree is getting so upset, as anyone would. And she starts breathing heavy, she's crying. She tries to leave, and he doesn't let her. Again, he keeps going. He says, you have this image of yourself, and I don't think it's accurate. Like, man, Stephen is already enough to deal with in this show. Now we've got fully evil Oliver, too. Okay, now we see Stephen in the dining hall, and he finally gets a call from Sadie. He is so excited. But it's literally just to tell him that the payment went through. Stephen tries to engage in other conversation, but she's not having it. She says, I can't really do this, but I just wanted to say thank you. And hangs up very abruptly. Wow, so that relationship, it's done. It is done. I mean, I feel awful for Sadie, but it is also very satisfying to see for Stephen. Stephen goes and sits down with Wrigley and Evan. He kind of mentions that Sadie called and that it was okay. I'm not sure if this is supposed to, like, remind Evan of what he owes Stephen. I mean, he doesn't owe him anything anymore because of the favor he did. But guess what he says now? Guess what Evan does? He tells Stephen right away about Diana being pregnant. He tells her that she already scheduled the abortion, though. So, of course, Stephen's mad. Stephen's pissed, and he's like, when is she doing that? And Evan says, oh, I don't know. I could probably figure out, though. Why Evan has become Stephen's little minion. Why has he done that? He gets nothing in return from someone like Stephen. Like, Evan, make other friends, please. Evan, make friends challenge. And sweet Wrigley butts in and is like, I don't think we should be talking about this. Isn't this Diana's private business? And pro-choice Wrigley, when Stephen says, that's my kid, Wrigley's like, it's a clump of cells. Stephen made me laugh here when he was like, oh, now you're a feminist, to Wrigley. And Evan tries to back Stephen up. He says, oh, I'd probably want to know if I got a girl pregnant. And Stephen's like, thank you. Evan, shut up. Pippa is on her way over to the table. Wrigley says, don't tell her. As soon as she sits down, Stephen tells her. Just immediately. They are just, no one's holding back. And poor Pippa hearing this. Because, you know, they're already dealing with the fact that she's in a relationship. And now this. Stephen storms his way across campus with those terrifying, like, eyes, like a Kubrick stare. All the way over to Diana's dorm. Knocks on the door, and as soon as she opens, he's like, are you pregnant? She tries to play it off, but he says, yeah, I already know. Diana realizes that Molly is the one who's telling people. And she seems confused about it. Like, Molly is not to be trusted. You gotta know who to trust. With that kind of information. With really personal stuff, right? Diana implies that this decision's done. That she didn't need to talk with Steven because it's a done deal. And Steven, the little manipulative gears start going off in his head, and he starts saying, oh, you probably have no one to talk to about this. Did you tell your family? Did you tell your dad? And also implies that if she told her dad, he'd probably come back around and that he'd want to help us. Help us. Again, not her, us. Because he still wants that money and that support from her dad. And I am so glad Diana has woken up, because right away she says, so you want me to have a child so that you can get back in my dad's good graces. She says, okay, my dad and I are fine, so don't worry about that. Steven's face at this part was so funny. I was honestly cracking up. He looked so confused. Because even I was thinking about this. Like, remember last season, which was last semester, the whole scheme that Diana pulled, making Steven think that her dad had, cut her off completely? So she's saying now, I mean, she doesn't ever say, that was a total ruse, that was a total farce, but he's confused, and he must be rethinking that. And then we get probably my favorite Diana moment, maybe in the whole show, at least this season so far, at the very least. She says to Steven, I cannot wait to abort your baby. It's going to be the highlight of my year. I cannot wait. The conviction with which she said it was just amazing. It was amazing. Highlight moment of the show. But before he leaves, he kind of tries again. And she says, you can't control me anymore. Try someone else. And that's that. Steven is then lying down, looking like he is rethinking his entire life. I love seeing confused Steven. I don't like seeing knowledgeable Steven when he has an aha moment, when he's thinking, when he's got those gears turning. I love to see him totally confused and dumbfounded. Even though that is also one of the scariest Steven times, because that is the pre-plotting phase. And yep, that's exactly what's happening, because he goes right from confused to action. He gets up, he goes to his laptop, opens it up. I'm so scared. Anything that we've seen on the laptop is scary. And he starts looking at Facebook and looks at Katie Parker's page. Remember Katie Parker? She's the one who accused Chris. And he's got that plotting Steven smirk on. What is he gonna do? Is he gonna send the Lucy video? What is he gonna do? Bree's hanging out in her dorm. Wrigley comes in. He thought Pippa was there, but he's like, oh, I can wait outside. Why is this so weird? Can they not act so weird? Nothing weird has happened with them. Stop. So Bree's like, come on, this isn't a women's bathroom. You can hang out inside here. So he does. Wrigley learns about Bree being selected for the photography exhibit, and he's so nice, and he gives her a big hug. In the meantime, Pippa, I don't think she's thinking about Wrigley. She gets a call from Diana. Diana says she's stressed, but lies about why she's actually stressed, but then she invites Pippa over to hang out. So we'll see if she just didn't want to tell her over the phone, and we'll tell her in person, because at this point Pippa knows about her being pregnant. Wrigley is looking at Bree's photos and just loving them, and he brings up his childhood photos, to which Bree says, I don't have any photos from my childhood. I have no idea what I was like. And I just love these little moments that we're getting of Bree's character, where we can understand her more fully from her childhood and her upbringing. And Wrigley, in his typical humorous fashion, is able to try to lighten up this darker moment with some humor, and he says, what's missing? Pictures of me. Take some pictures of me. He starts posing, in his typical Wrigley posing fashion, kind of funny, making these funny poses. And Bree gets pissed. She's like, can you just be serious? Wrigley seems taken aback by it slightly. And I thought that was interesting, because it shows, the differences between these two characters. Wrigley uses humor as a kind of facade to hide his inner pain. He uses it to cope with the pain, and in a way to still connect with others even when he is not doing well. Bree, on the other hand, she doesn't do this. She's pretty vulnerable, and I think authentic and honest. Not that Wrigley isn't authentic, but he just has a kind of a different way of trying to cope. Bree is still upset about her conversation with Oliver, and she asks Wrigley, what did Evan say about me? Did he ever say I was insecure or needy or anything? Bree is worried that everyone sees her now as insecure. She thought she was averagely confident, nothing crazy, but it just makes me so sad that Oliver is now making her question her self-worth, because she was so confident before. She was probably one of the most confident out of the girls, especially season 1. I mean, we saw her in that figure drawing class posing nude. Like, if she was that insecure, she would not be doing that. And additionally, she never questioned why Evan cheated. And now she is. I mean, remember when she learned? Her mind never went to what's wrong with me. She tried her best to just move forward, move on. There was no inkling of her turning that towards herself at all until now. Wrigley comforts her, and he even brings up how Drew was obsessed with her and thought she was intimidating. And then he even makes something joking where he says, oh, but you're much too small to be intimidating. Like, boy, you are flirting. Then Pippa comes in. Wrigley's kind of awkward about it, and it's almost like they both forgot about their plans at this point. Yikes. Pippa pretty clearly makes up a lie about going to study at the library. And it's just uncomfortable. And then Wrigley and Bree hug, and he leaves, and I'm like, what is going on? You know what I was also thinking? Remember from last season when Pippa opened up to Wrigley about liking girls, and that she had a crush on one specific girl? Did he just, forget about that? Because that happened. Now, Lucy meets up with Alex. She sits down at the bar with him. And guess who she sees across the room? It's Max, and it looks like he's on a date. I think Lucy feels somewhat safe with Alex because she shows some shame over how they interacted last night, but he's like, I've seen people do weirder stuff, and asked for weirder things. He's seen it all, so... Lucy starts talking about how she thinks she's a horrible person. She brings up the example of Max, how she used him until she didn't need the distraction of him anymore, and that she doesn't think people do that. And I'm like, girl, do you see the men in this show? Evan is doing that right now. And then Alex tries to persuade Lucy to go up and apologize to Max right then and there, even though he's on a date. And she's like, no, that's weird. They're on a date. This isn't really the right time. Did anyone else feel a little uncomfy? Why was he being so pushy about it? Or was this kind of a thing? Is this tied into, their kind of kink with each other? What is this? So she goes over to him. It's so awkward. Even the date, smiles at her and introduces herself and shakes her hand. Max is visibly uncomfortable. Lucy starts to apologize. And all I could think about was season 2. When Steven deliberately came up to Lucy in the middle of the cafeteria when she was sitting with, what's his name? Leo and her friends, and started to apologize for how bad she treated him. Did that not feel so reminiscent of that? And right after this, her and Alex leave immediately and then go hook up in his car. Lucy, kind of slips her arm and she says, I'm sorry. And Alex asked her to say that again. Say, I'm sorry again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going down a bad path. I mean, I'm not shaming. I think for Alex, he is able to separate himself from this behavior and what they're doing. He knows that it's kind of its own contained act. But I think for Lucy, it's more than that. Does that make sense? What do you think? Diana and Pippa are together in Diana's room. Pippa and Diana are in Diana's room working, and then Diana doesn't offer up the news, so Pippa asks straight out, are you pregnant? Diana had a funny reaction. She was like, are people shouting my business in the town square today? And yes, they are. If you tell anything in the realm to anyone in the realm of Steven, you gotta expect that, okay? Diana mentions that Steven showed up to talk about it, and that she genuinely feels scared of him now. She genuinely is fearful of him. And I mean, I think this is because of what she knows. It's now just her and Lucy that know it. The fact that he was in the car with Macy. Even Pippa says, I think he's a lot scarier than any of us realize. And little does she know that that is true. And then they are like, let's not talk about it, and they hook up, which is sweet for their relationship and for this ship of the two of them. I mean, yeah, it kind of sucks for Wrigley, but I guess he's got Bree now? I don't know. Next, guess what? We see Lucy walking in one of the hallways, and we learn that the dean has asked to see her again. So she goes to the dean's office, she opens the door, and you know who's there? Katie and Mary Ann. Katie starts explaining that she heard that a similar thing happened to Lucy, and that her case was dismissed because they didn't have enough evidence, but if Lucy wants to come forward too, then they have more power, obviously, in numbers. I didn't think about this upon first watch, but did Steven message Katie, maybe like anonymously on Facebook, to tell her about this? Was that what he was doing when he was looking at her page? Lucy even asked, why is Marianne there? And Katie says it's because she thought it'd be helpful to have a faculty member they both know and trust. Oh my god! I could not believe that part. And Marianne's smiling back like, we lost all trust in Marianne, unfortunately. I don't know what's wrong with her, and I was so happy that Lucy had Marianne for a while, and then that got ruined last season. But Marianne does pull through, because when the dean starts pushing Lucy, essentially, she says, I think it's up to Lucy and what she wants to do, which, thank you. That is true. Poor Katie is pretty disappointed. I think she really had hope in what could happen if Lucy would come forward. But it's for the best, since it's not true. Also, another side note, I thought Katie, the actress who played Katie for the longest time, was this actress named Mika Abdallah. I don't know if anyone knows her, but I thought that was her at first. They look so similar. Lucy leaves and Marianne chases after her, kindly. But of course Lucy brings up her husband and how upset she is and how she thinks it's so wrong what he's doing. Okay, now something really bad happens. Bree is on her computer and sees that she got an invite to a Facebook page called Chris is an R-word, and it says that he assaulted both Katie and Lucy. I mean, poor Pippa looks freaked out. So they run on over to Lucy's dorm. She doesn't know about it at this point. They tell her. Bree is obviously concerned. She has no reason to not believe this. She doesn't know why anyone would say this. So she says, did this really happen? And poor Pippa steps in and tries to say she probably just wants to forget about this. She doesn't want to talk about it. And it's like she's just having to bear this burden. And I mean, on top of that, Pippa is having to lie to Bree. Bree says something, unknowingly insensitive, because her and Pippa, as they're walking out of the dorm, they're talking. And Bree says it kind of puts Evan into perspective. Like, he looks like less of a bad guy. Which, yes, it's true, but it's awful that that's being said to Pippa. Lucy's freaking out, so she calls someone to meet up and talk about it. It's Diana, the one other person who really knows the truth about the situation. They meet up in the lunch hall, and I'm like, this is so public. This is kind of a tough place to have this conversation. I don't know if I'd want to show my face after that. Diana seems pissed. She's very stoic. She's not comforting it at all. And at first I was kind of like, come on, Lucy tried. I know she messed up really badly, but she tried to do something. She was trying to do something nice, even though it was really, really bad. But then I understand when Diana gets pissed when Lucy reveals that she told Steven about it. Diana reassures her, says people will probably think that he's just making it up. But then Lucy replies that, no, he made me confess to it on tape. And Diana, she just laughs. She's like, why would you let him do something like that? Girl, you're the one who was just talking about how fearful you are of him. We both know that he is scary and he can be very coercive. We get another Diana line when she says, has anyone told you that you have really bad decision-making skills and that she should just stop making decisions? Which was kind of funny. It's a little cliche. It's one of those lines they throw in where it's from the audience. It's like what the audience wants to say to her, but through Diana. But, I try to have sympathy for Diana, even in these moments, because I think that her defensiveness and this hypocrisy is partially her coping mechanism. She says to Lucy, Lucy says, I didn't have a choice. Like, you know, Steven, I didn't have a choice. And she says, you always have a choice. But even she, I don't know if she fully believes that. I guess she did make a choice to leave him, but still he's back in her life. Well, also, Diana's feelings for Pippa are probably playing a role in this now, and why she's so upset about the situation. Fade into You, Mazzy Star starts playing. Beautiful, beautiful song. We see Lucy taking off the band-aid that was on her thigh burn and putting a new one on. What is that symbolism? Is she using the same solution to heal old wounds? Is that what it is? Let me know if you have any analysis on that. And then the next shot is Bree showing up to Evan's dorm. She seems to have had a change of heart about him, and maybe is also slightly scared about how she feels with Wrigley, so that pushes her towards Evan. But either way, she shows up, she gives him this smile, this look of such loving eyes. Like, it was kind of beautiful. And then they do this transition right to their wedding night. Oh my gosh, it made me want to cry. It was actually really, even though it's like sad because, well, I don't know. It was really well done. It made me feel like this is the perfect couple. This is the perfect relationship. I'm so happy for them. Look at how in love they are. But let's keep watching. It's their first dance. We get this interesting shot of Wrigley, Steven, and Lydia in the distance sitting at their table watching them. Wrigley looks really happy. Steven looks incredibly confused, and Lydia's just kind of neutral. Or maybe Steven's not confused, but he has his menacing Steven look about him as he's watching. Like, he's doing his Kubrick stare. So their final dance, or first dance, ends. They cheer. Steven looks at Lucy when she's cheering. He comes over to her and Pippa. So Pippa, of course, leaves. She says, blink twice if you need help, to Lucy. Stop. He's so annoying. Like, my skin is crawling. He says, oh, I know how hard this must be for you. And she's like, for what? And he says, oh, to see me and Lydia together, especially after what happened this morning. Right then, we get a little glimpse of Lydia looking towards them, clearly thinking, what the hell is going on? Why did Steven just run up to talk to Lucy? Is this going to be the end of Steven and Lydia? I think they're going to be done. I think they're going to be done after this wedding. I cannot wait for the final episode. I think he's going to be left fully alone. This is my prediction. Ooh, and Lucy holds strong. She says, not at all. I've honestly been completely validated by this whole weekend. And she has her own little smirk, too. Because you know what? As she says, he never changed for anyone. He hasn't actually changed for Lydia. He's the same exact person. And that's very comforting to know. I mean, was it worth hurting Max like that, Lucy? Was it really worth doing that? I think some of us can say yes, because it really made Steven look like a fool. You know, I mean, Max and Lucy are very close, but I think at this point, do they even live together? I don't know. Whereas Steven is engaged, and he was so quick to still hook up with Lucy and cheat on Lydia. And you can tell it got to Steven, it got to him. And right at that moment, with his dumb face, Lydia comes up. She grabs Steven away from the conversation and is like, what were you doing? What was that? And he says, oh, we were catching up. Steven looks so distraught. And you know what? Lydia sucks. Lydia also really sucks. Like, I mean, the best thing about the show is you understand people's motives, but still, we're in the perspective of Lucy too, so I don't like Lydia, so, like, I'm very happy to see this happen. It was pretty satisfying. Like, we even see them in the distance at the bar kind of fighting, and then Lydia walks away. Okay, now it gets weird. So Steven's all alone at the bar. Bree comes up to get some water. She asks Steven, she says, having fun? And she's not being mean at all to him. And Steven kind of perks up at this. Because, I mean, he must be really happy about the fact that he sent the voicemail. He's off the high of that. That's what he loves doing. So he thinks that he has just ruined the marriage. That's why he was looking so confused, I guess, at their first dance. He's like, why is Bree so happy? Whereas Bree knows something that Steven doesn't know. And she says to Steven, people make mistakes, and I'm not the kind of person that would let, one mistake ruin everything. So she's standing up to him and saying, I heard your voicemail, and it does not matter to me. And I mean, that is the way to deal with Steven, isn't it? Like, he expects you to act one way, and if you're able to act to not act on it, on your emotion, and not act in the way he expects, it strips him of his power. And you can tell that in the way that he looks after this. Wrigley gets up to go dance with Pippa. He asked Diana for permission, which was very cute. But Steven, he leaves his phone at the table, face up, and Steven glances at it. Okay, crazy. This is a crazy last, 2 minutes of the episode. They know how to close out an episode. Wrigley, it's pretty much confirmed that Wrigley and Bree have had a thing. At least that Wrigley has feelings for Bree. And that Pippa knows, because he says, I'm convincing myself or others or whatever that you're the one that I'm still in love with. And Pippa agrees with that, says, that's smart. And Wrigley looks longingly and wistfully at Bree. And Bree is doing the same over Evan's shoulder while she's dancing with Evan. And Steven is just watching all of this go down on the dance floor, looking so confused, which is all of us as the audience too. He picks up Wrigley's phone because he is the nosy little creep. Wrigley has no passcode. Did iPhones not have... Did they not have passcodes in the beginning? I'm pretty sure they always did. But he picks up his phone and sees, tons of calls between him and Bree. So that's it. We have confirmation. Bree and Wrigley secret romance. Wow. One thing I'm thinking upon my second watch of this episode is why couldn't they be together? What happened to where they couldn't be together? I feel like it would have been just as easy for Bree to say, actually, Evan, I can't get over what happened. I want Wrigley. It'd be weird for Wrigley, but Wrigley's already kind of distancing himself from the boys. Right? And Steven just smirks because there he goes. He has more blackmail. He has another secret under his belt that he can just pull out. Oh my goodness, what an ending. I don't even have words at this point. Was this, so do we have confirmation now that Wrigley was the one calling Bree? Remember the big cliffhanger at the end of last season? That she was getting a call and she was like, we can't do this, stop calling. But why would she say stop? Maybe he was drunk and he kept calling? I have to do a rewatch. Of everything now. Don't know how I feel about this relationship. I didn't see it coming, even though they're two of my favorite characters. Out of the guys, Wrigley's my favorite, which is kind of at this point, he's probably everyone's now. And then out of the girls, I feel like Bree, at least since season 1, has always been one of my favorites. So I can't believe this is where we're ending up. I want to see more scenes between them. I want to see what happens. I don't know. I literally don't have words. Tell me what you think. What did you think when you were watching this episode? Did you see this coming? What do you think is possibly going to happen? Also, I am so mad because on Hulu, it seems that it's only 7 episodes this season. So you're telling me we're almost done? Are you kidding me? I don't know. So let's enjoy this all together as much as we can. Comment down below, let's discuss, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.